In order to create, she needs to be able to escape from any given situation at any given time. No situation may be allowed to finish, but must be abandoned regularly in order to pursue new situations, which, although they may be geographically distinct, are not unconnected. The moment she feels that she has finally found and is pursuing an idea, which can be almost immediately, or maybe a little or even a considerable while after she sits down to write, she will make sure to abandon it, so that when she returns to it later, it no longer makes any sense to her and appears to be going nowhere. This, of course, adds considerable texture to her creation, which in turn abandons itself at regular intervals, leaving in turn the reader abandoned at regular intervals, so that finally they not only become entirely lost in the work, but are psychologically marked by it. It is true that trauma in an early iteration resurfaces and repeats over the course of any given lifetime. Abandonment may occur either through the physical removal of herself from the working space, or the removal only of part of herself, such as her brain, and if this latter, then she can achieve this even within the space of a sentence, so that finally the question, has she made more or has she undone more, and if the latter, does the work more or less exist? Of course, she has received some external commentaries on her methods, which have been largely negative, suggesting that if she worked longer over more consistently maintained temporal expanses, she would be able to create more, of which longer, and by intimation better, works. By this she can see that short form is still largely misunderstood, and that long form, at least 4 hours of sequential development in any one defined space, preferably a desk, continues to be the only viable method. But it is possible that she is simply ahead of her time. Lily is our flower. What musculature she has is not immediately obvious, although she does find ways to uphold herself. There is a fine line between turgidity and drainage, which is her long, flat, green stem. And we are always excited to expose ourselves to her waxen extremities and then to detect what movement we can. Her long throat is, at the same time, an orifice, which strikes us as meaningful. That said, much of her does yet remain a mystery to us. We would like more understanding in our relationship. Could it be called wrong to wish that on those days when her head and appendages droop alarmingly, we might know whether this is a case of over or under watering? We might in this way be able to respond with more or less water, but we are concerned that, in the belief we are moistening a drought, we are in fact putting her in danger of drowning. When we first got her, we inspected her for signs of disease, and she appeared healthy enough, although it is hard to know what is normal. It may be that her failure to signal to us either way is due to her decorousness and her nature to absorb rather than to secrete. We have observed others like her. We recall a local funereal establishment in which we sat dry-eyed, they meanwhile sucking up the moisture from the air. We found their contribution humane, and retrospectively this has been a factor precipitating our desire for a high absorption petal of our own. We do value intellectual curiosity where we believe we find it, but perhaps we were wrong to assume that output would then occur, according to the osmotic model, although whether it is forthcoming, it may be that the particular waxen cast of her features has consequences for outward display of information, such as causing a delay. Whether expression of saturation or dehydration is starting within, and is still moving through the layers of wax, parting each turgid cell door with huge effort in the case of saturation, or moving through rubble in the case of dehydration, this is not something we know. We spend as much time exposing ourselves to her extremities as possible, but so far we have seen nothing. That is not to say we have not seen certain things, yet we do not believe they are significant. Meanwhile, we remain haunted by the possibility that we simply do not understand her signalling. We, for whom our garden was barren for years, and now finally, our flower. If she is crying, not to drown her, she cannot understand why, her old parents. That we do not even get it over with, the death either way, sometimes watering, sometimes withholding, letting it drag out. What can we do? It may be torture. We have asked for help and have reason to expect it may be forthcoming.